Planet magazine.
Also known as Wednesday 13.
Welcome to Brutal Planet Magazine.
Welcome to Brutal Planet Magazine.
Welcome to Brutal Planet magazine.
You're listening to Brutal Planet.
Hey, what's up, everybody? CJ Pierce here from Drowning Pool, and you're listening to Brutal Planet Media right here. Get yourself.
Hey, I'm Steve from Within the Ruins, and this is Brutal Planet.
Greetings, Brutal Planet. We're live today with Larissa from the band Black Satellite. Great to meet you, Larissa.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, there's two people in our intro that you've toured with, Drowning Pool and Wednesday.
I know. I was like, hey, I know those guys.
Yeah, I almost played our little bumper with Wednesday, the full one, but I was like, that's too much. I need to redo our intro anyway. It's a little bit dated, but let's talk about the band. I like to ask, this is my first time talking to you, so it's great to meet you, like I said. I like to ask for an origin story, so that can be as long or as short as you want it to be, but just kind of tell us how the band came about and how you got into this.
So I wish it was like this really cool story or some crazy string of events, but I thought of the band name when I was like sitting in my bedroom when I was 15 years old. And then just kind of stuck with it, and obviously writing a lot of music through high school and college. And as soon as I graduated college, just beeline to New York City, and worked in the service industry for a year. And I was like, had 2 jobs and I worked 6 days a week. And I was like, you know what? I'm not doing anything that I came to the city to do. Like, I want to write a record and start really pursuing my dreams. So just saved up enough money and just quit my day job. And I was like, all right, I'm going to just go 100% head first into music, and if it doesn't work out, I guess I'll just be a loser, and that's fine too. So just kind of really lit a fire under my ass to just to really go for it, and just give this the best shot that I could.
Burn the fleet. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you guys, it's funny. I just did, doing some research on the band and stuff. You've done a lot of covers. I was curious, the Rammstein one, what kind of inspired you to do that?
So the way I choose covers is I kind of want to pick something that is like pretty ballsy to cover, like we did Typo Negative, and I feel like
that was
a
going
lot
to
of
be my
people.
next question.
Yeah, and the Rammstein cover, I feel like they kind of have like these really loyal fan bases that I was like, okay, people are either going to love it or hate it, and we might get totally torn apart, but I don't ever like to play it safe, and I really do want to challenge myself, as a musician and especially as a vocalist. So for me, I was like, okay, I've already covered Peter Steele. Like, what else can I really do to challenge myself? And I'm like, Rammstein. I don't even speak a word of German, and Till has this incredibly low voice. And I'm like, God, how would that even sound like with a chick trying to sing it? You know what I mean? And maybe that's enough to get people curious about it. And so I just spent 2 weeks listening to the soloed vocal, memorizing every single syllable. I actually don't even know what all of the words mean, which is kind of funny. And we actually did play that song on our Europe tour last fall. We had 4 shows in Germany, and I was like, I don't know, guys, maybe we should cut it from the set. Like, I don't know, we're in Germany, it's kind of sacred. But we just went with it anyway, because I was like, that's kind of the nature of why we covered this song anyway. I was like, let's just fucking be ballsy with it. Who cares? So we went and we did the song, and people loved it. And one of the other supporting bands on that tour, they're a German band. And I was like, hey guys, like, I'm talking to the singer. I'm like, can you just give it to me straight? Like, how is my German? Like, I really want to know. And he was like, no, from like a native German speaker, like, you're doing a good job. And I was like, you wouldn't just tell me that, right? And he was like, no, I promise. And I was like, okay, cool. And then went and crushed the show in Berlin. So.
Yeah, I would imagine that the Germans would appreciate that more than anything. Like, if you're trying to pay, they're trying to pay homage to one of their greats,
Exactly. And after the show, people are coming up to me like speaking German or whatever. And I was like, no, I don't speak German. I only speak Rammstein.
That's a dialect of German, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The typo negative stuff too. That was kind of going to be my follow up. I really dug the cover you guys did of My Girlfriend's Girlfriend, just because it
Thank
kind of
you.
gave it like a dancey vibe, and I love
Yeah.
when someone does that with a song that's familiar, but they put a new spin on it. You know.
Yeah, I know, because no one wants to hear the same song with someone else singing it. So, I mean, I feel like it's just a really great opportunity to kind of, incorporate some new elements and maybe do a different arrangement of the song that people aren't expecting, or it's not really something you would have thought of. And it just makes it so much more fun too, because for the listeners, it's just a fresh take on a song that they really love.
Yeah, and that's a band that we've done a lot with here on this channel. Like, we interviewed Kenny, the guitar player, a couple of years ago for like the anniversary of Bloody Kisses, and we had Johnny, the drummer, on, and so that's a band that our audience loves and I love. So it was cool to hear that. And then of
Oh
course
yeah,
you did
thank you.
I Don't Want to Be Me as well.
Yeah, and that one we completely rewrote, like entirely new instrumentals for, and that one I feel like we just completely flipped it on its head, and yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's great. And Peter Steele has this clip that we always play because we always talk about like the importance of sex appeal in rock and stuff. And he has this clip
Yeah.
where he's talking about, you've probably seen it, where he's talking about like, he's like, I think you should make an effort to look good if you're in rock. Like, there's nothing worse than seeing a bunch of flabby dudes jumping around on stage trying to be sexy. And I always appreciated that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But so I listened to the new single Downfall, and it sounds like you guys are kind of, it sounds heavier than the first record that I listened to. Is that a single from the upcoming full length?
Yep, so it's a new single from our upcoming record Aftermath. And so the new record, it is very much a departure of kind of what we set out to do with the first record, Endless. Because it's like you have your whole life to write your first record, and you're also kind of just figuring out what you want to do. And then, this record, it's like we already kind of honed in our sound and personalities and, having that confidence and just knowing who you are as an artist. And it's funny you mentioned typo negative because the process of doing those covers was very exploratory, because I was like, okay, well, we're not really like doing our songs. There's no expectations here. And then we kind of got into this heavier sound, like with the I Don't Want to Be Me cover. And then I was like, oh, this is really fucking sick. I really like this different direction. And so, yeah, our new record is kind of more in that heavier vein.
I really like your voice because from a standpoint of, I feel like today in metal, especially, there's kind of this tendency to do the like scream clean thing back and forth.
Yeah.
And you're not really doing that. Like you have kind of a grittiness to your voice in the same way that like a James Hetfield would, I really dig that's, you're not just going like raw on the heavy parts and then singing clean on the clean parts. You're actually, pushing your voice in a way that a lot of vocalists today aren't.
No, I appreciate you saying that. And, it might even be on like some subconscious kind of level, but it's more of just like, I just kind of want to sing like how all my favorite bands growing up, like, why can't you just do that? If you know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it's me emulating things that I loved hearing growing up, and you kind of incorporate different elements, and it's this unique conglomerate of a bunch of different things. And yeah, like I said, it's not like a conscious effort. It's just I kind of just like I have always kind of been more into that kind of style.
So on that note, what are some of the bands or artists that kind of influenced you to be a musician? I love to ask artists that question. I'm sure you don't have to like call out a list or anything, but usually for most musicians, there's like a point when they're like, I want to do that.
For me, it's like Marilyn Manson's obviously a big one, and Korn and Deftones, Tool, and Soundgarden even, like Chris Cornell's inspired me vocally as well. So for me, it's just like we're out here on tour with Marilyn Manson right now. And it like doesn't even feel real to me because that's kind of been like my dream since I was 12 years old. I always told
That's
myself
amazing.
like, I'm gonna tour with Marilyn Manson. Like, I just want to tour with Marilyn Manson. And then I get the call from my management, and they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna go on tour with Marilyn Manson." And I'm like, I almost felt numb. You picture how you're gonna react in that kind of situation. You play it through your head so many times, you know. And then I was just like numb. I was like, "Wait, what do you mean? What?" Like, I don't understand what's happening right now, you know. And I actually still don't even believe it. Like, I see him in the venue every day, and I'm like, I'm on tour with Marilyn Manson. Like, this is so cool.
Have you interacted much with him?
No, not really. It's the first week of tour, you know,
Okay.
and we're just kind of trying to keep our heads down and just do our thing, you know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's super cool. As a longtime fan myself, you know, it's great to see him back out on the road after all the kind of stuff he went through. And you know, I heard he's sober now. He's kind of like
Yeah, he is.
doing the, but always, I mean, for our era, you know, I mean, you listed a lot of the same bands I grew up listening to, like one of the true legendary rock stars, without a doubt, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And like, even watching his show every day, it never gets like less cool. I'm just like, I can't fucking believe I'm here with Marilyn Manson. Like, what the hell? But yeah, I think it's just such a great opportunity to watch such an amazing performer every day and just try to kind of soak it all in, you know?
Yeah, he's such a prominent figure for me too. I love there's like a clip of him in the early years in Twiggy on like Jerry Springer talking about
Yeah.
you know how music affects kids, and even he's in Bowling for Columbine, that Michael Moore movie.
Yeah.
He was just such a really intelligent. I always love artists that kind of have that intelligence wrapped in like the dark scary thing, and then you
Mhm.
scratch the surface and there's this like really deep intellectual kind of thought process going on underneath it, you know.
Right.
So I always appreciated that about him. So you guys are out on tour right now. When does the album come out exactly?
So it's going to be dropping the first week of October. So we have a couple more singles that are going to be coming out. And then, yeah, we're going to launch it right before our fall tour.
Awesome. Are there any other I was just checking the comments to see if there's anything. It's really just people.
Which comments?
So we're live on Facebook,
Oh, I see.
YouTube, Twitter, and Rumble. So that people, it's mostly just emojis though. I was just gonna see if anyone had
Oh,
any
good. I
like,
hope everyone's being nice.
legit comments. Yeah. Oh, it's not even a ton of people right now. Most of these live streams, I like to do them live, just for the sake of it makes it easier to not have to edit and upload and all that stuff. But most people watch them after the fact. So if there are any mean comments, you know, the AI will filter them out. But honestly, I think the comments are like a really great part of this. And you know, there are always some trolls in there, but and I like to feed the trolls, but I feel like they keep us honest to some extent, you know, like someone was correcting me the other day because I said Wagner instead of Wagner when I was talking about something, you know. So people like in there like keeping me honest, like correcting me, or I'll say something, or so it's usually more of that than anything. It's not
Cool.
I don't see like really mean-spirited, like hateful or racist stuff going on in our comments. There's actually a lot of good spirited debate in there. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So I guess tell me a little bit more. I thought it was really cool what you said about just kind of cutting the ropes and going all in on music. Where did you cut? Are you originally from New York or?
No, I'm not. So I kind of grew up in Europe. My dad worked for the US government, so I just kind of moved around a bunch. So I kind of like to say I'm from everywhere but nowhere. Like, I used to just give people the short form answer, and you know, when they ask, you know, where are you from, which for me is actually a really difficult question, but it's not
Sure.
supposed to be. And I'd just go with like the last place that I lived and be like, that's where I'm from, you know? And then if they ask me more, then I'm like, okay, well, actually, I kind of grew up all over the place in Europe. And they're like, oh, and you know, it just turns into this long-winded conversation.
Sure.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's
So no,
so
no,
military
not from New York.
military brat life, kind of even like Jim
Exactly.
Morrison. There's a lot of had that kind of upbringing. So I feel like there's a lot of that in the rock and roll world.
Yeah, but you know what? I think that's why like the touring life kind of lends itself so well to me because I'm just used to change and constantly traveling and exploring, and I just feel like I can be comfortable in a lot of different environments and I really don't need much. Like I can sleep on a hotel room floor in France and be completely fine, which we
In your
did
DNA.
when we were on tour last fall in Europe. But like I don't ever want to sit still, so this is like the perfect job for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that that's inspiring for a lot of people who might be on the fence about like, hey, I'm trying to work a day job, but I really want to do music, and it's like there's a lot of real value in just going all in and not being afraid to fail. I feel like every musician who ever became anything had to go that route at some point.
And I think David Bowie said something to this effect. I don't remember the exact quote, so maybe somebody in the comments can enlighten me. But he said something to the effect of like, if you're out of your comfort zone, that kind of means you're doing something right. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's terrifying and you don't know if it's going to pan out or, at all. And you just kind of do it anyway because you just like have this drive and ambition and this dream. And you're like, well, I can't picture my life any other kind of way. And this is what I want to do. So like, just fuck it, and just go for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I came to that realization a few years ago where it's like being uncomfortable usually means you're learning something or growing in some way. You're kind of out of your own element, and it's forcing you to, if you're not growing, you're dying. So
Yeah, exactly.
are there let me ask you this. You're already playing with Manson, but are there any other bands that and you played with Drowning Pool and Wednesday. Are there any other bands that you're looking forward to potentially touring with or actually let me ask you this. This is a better question. Are there artists out there right now that you're excited about in the current world of music that maybe not a lot of people are aware of yet?
I'm like kind of one of these weirdos. Like I actually kind of just more listen to like electronic music, just random shit when I'm at home because it's like you just hear so much like heavy music that I just kind of like want to zone out. I'm probably like the worst person to ask this question because like I mean maybe people in this community can turn me onto some new bands, but I really don't kind of listen to a lot of new music, surprisingly.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. I'm a music lover myself too. First and foremost, I listen to everything, so it's always it doesn't have to be metal even, but like recently I've been obsessed with the band The Cult. I don't know if
Okay.
you've heard much of their stuff, but like they have such an interesting trajectory because they're a British band and they kind of straddled in the 80s like hair metal and like goth alternative.
Oh,
Um
okay.
and they have just two albums that when I was a kid I heard a couple of their songs and I kind of liked, but they have an album called Sonic Temple and one called Ceremony that are both like I liken it to like in the 80s everyone's vocalist was kind of copying David Lee Roth like the like and their vocalist was copying Jim Morrison kind of like he had like more the Danzig Jim Morrison style. So anyway, I mean I love geeking out on stuff like that. So even if it's electronica, there's a ton of electronica stuff that I love. Even if you want to say like maybe a better question is what are you listening to right now?
Well, I've recently found this artist Skeller on Spotify, and so I do like a lot of visual art. Like when I'm not touring and stuff, like I'll do like these charcoal drawings and stuff, and I just kind of just put that on for hours and just like create artwork and just zone out, because it's just like some good background music, and I feel like I can kind of really disconnect, from all the stress of life, and that's just really
Mhm.
important, especially in between doing all these like crazy tours and stuff.
Yeah, I could totally imagine if you're living heavy music every day, you're probably like, I don't want to listen to heavy music when I'm not
Yeah.
working. Makes total sense. I mean, I had another question for you before we go, and I lost it. It'll come to me.
No worries.
Okay. This is what it was. Are there any crazy stories you could share from tour? Like anything that's like really crazy that's happened to you out on the live scene?
Okay, there's a bunch, but the one that just came to mind was probably like the strangest fan interaction that I've ever had in my life. like I don't even remember where we are. My band members could probably tell me, but we were on tour like a year and a half ago, and we played this one show. And I walk out from like the backstage area, and I'm like heading to the merch table because like we like to meet all the fans after the show. And then this one chick just starts screaming, "Oh my God, is that Larissa Vale?" And I'm just like, do you like who do you think I am? Like, I don't know. This is kind of like a really extremely crazy reaction right now. Like, okay. Um, and so she's like, runs after me, and she like latches her arms around me and is like hugging me, and she's like so excited that she's like spitting while she's talking, and it's like just like going all over my face. And she's like, "Oh my God, can I kiss you?" And I'm like, "Help!" Oh, what do I do? Because like obviously I'm grateful that people are that excited, but at the same time I'm like, am I safe?
Yeah.
What do I do? And then she's like talking to all my other band members, and she's like, "Yeah, I like split my head open last week, and I got like staples in my head, like you can feel it." And she starts like bleeding everywhere, and like
Oh
she's like
wow.
pouring blood out of her head, and it was like on the floor. And I think like security had to take her out, but I was like, "What the fuck is actually even happening here right now?" Like it just kept like the whole thing just kept getting weirder and weirder. Like she's just like bleeding and like.
The second part of that story almost explains the first part.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You're like, yeah, she'd had a head injury, so she was probably just like, whacked
I know,
out.
and I'm like, you should probably like be resting and not going to a metal show. Like, oh no.
Well, that's a taste of the future. I mean, wait till there's more of those people coming after you.
Oh God. I'm
It's got
here
to be a
for it.
different.
Bring it on.
Yeah, it's got to be I'm sure it's a different dynamic for women too, in music, where it's like a Peter Steele. There's not, he probably doesn't have to worry too much about a fan coming out. The guy's like 6'7" and can pretty much
Yeah,
handle
right.
anyone. So it is a little bit of a different dynamic when you're a woman vocalist and you have kind of crazy, aggressive fans coming after you.
I'm really lucky. My band members are like my best friends, and they're all like very protective over me. It's kind of sweet.
So let me ask you a little bit about your writing process too before we go. How do you guys put songs together? Do you and the guitar player work together, or do you come to the fold with ideas, or like do you guys get in a room and jam?
So yeah, like my guitar player like send me like demos and stuff, and we'll go back and forth. Because for me, I can't really just write vocals without hearing the music first, because I'll hear the song, and then it'll instantly give me like a feeling, and then I'll link that feeling to like some memory that I had, and then the words will start piecing themselves together. And I'll just start just writing some scratch vocals, and I'm kind of singing gibberish in a sense. And then occasionally we'll have like a real word or two point out. And then I'm like, okay, that's cool, because it's almost like you're communicating with your subconscious in a way. Why did I say that? And then you're connecting the dots. And then before you know it, I kind of have like a whole theme laid out in front of me. So it's very much like on the fly. I can't just be one of those people that like, oh, I have a day off on tour right now. Maybe I'll just write some lyrics. I mean, it's just not how my brain works. Like I have to hear it and then really get myself into the mindset. And then it's just trying to crack the code on, what the hell's going on in here. So
I love it. I saw this interview Billy Corgan did with Al Jorgensen, and I loved what Al Jorgensen said. He goes, "I haven't written a single song. The universe gives them to me."
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah, I
that's
think wasn't it something in like ancient Greek or Roman culture or whatever? Like I don't know, something by Aristotle that it's like essentially like musicians are just vessels, and they're receiving messages from like the gods or something else, and just being passed through us, and we're not actually writing the music.
that's very cool. I've never heard that, but I don't doubt it at all.
Yeah,
It
I think
sounds
that was like
Go ahead.
the belief system, if I'm not mistaken, something like that.
That totally makes sense, because I heard Rick Rubin, I think, waxing poetic kind of like that, and he probably got it from that. But he was saying how it was really cool. I mean, this is the guy who's at the helm of a lot of fantastic, legendary albums. But he was saying the work will take you where it needs to go. Like it'll guide you, like it'll just flow through you. So
And I feel like, especially doing something creatively, it's, you know, when you just stop trying so hard, it just kind of just happens naturally, you know? So it's like, if anyone's experiences writer's block or whatever, it's just like, if you just go and just rewire your brain, go for a walk and just do something differently and just try, like, because when you're trying to force it, you know, it just makes it so much harder for yourself. And so that's something that I definitely learned too. So it's just like, try not to take anything too seriously. Even when I'm in the studio and it's like, okay, well, we have a time frame, we got to write a record and we have the studio for this amount of time. Just like, I don't even think about it. I'm just like, you know, we're in here and just whatever happens, you know, and just roll with it.
Yeah, makes total sense. Well, I'm a fan of the music. I listened to the first album and the singles, and of course the covers you've done. And is there anything else, like if you're going to plug your Instagram or your website or anything? I mean, what else would you? Where would you tell people to go?
Yeah, so it's just at Black Satellite on everything. We have everything on blacksatellite.com, all of our tour dates and our releases and our merch. And our brand new single, Downfall, just launched yesterday, and it's available on all platforms. And we have a really cool video, and you guys can all check that out today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure you probably have other interviews to do, but it's appreciated. And come back and talk to me again, you know, next time you have some new news or when the album's going to drop or anything like that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks again, Larissa. Take care. Everybody, Black
All right,
Satellite. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.